Tashdile, and welcome to Empowering the Vision Project Facebook Live today with Pema from the documentary The Only Sun. Pamela is a community marketer at Destination Marketing Organization based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. For the past 3 years, we are very happy to welcome Pamela. We will be taking questions from our viewers. If you have any questions for Pema, please leave in the comment section below. So before we begin, may I request Pema to introduce yourself to our viewers?
All right. First of all, 나 되게 정말 예뻐 요거라 이 김선 드링아 서 인지케는 the session 제미 지야인. So all right. First, I just wanted to thank Empowering the Vision, who's making an incredible difference by empowering youth and also preserving the Tibetan community. And I also want to thank all the viewers who has taken time to see the session. Your time is really appreciated. My name is Pema, and I'm 29 years old. I'm living and working currently in the Netherlands. So before coming to the Netherlands, actually, I grew up in a children's home called Rokpa. Rokpa in Tibetan means help. It's an international organization founded by his late Dr. Agam Tulku Rinpoche and the co-founder, the former Swiss actress Leah Wheeler. It's based in Kathmandu, Nepal. That's how I actually came in Kathmandu when I got severely sick. I think most of people have seen my documentary or my TED talk. There I've pretty much explained everything about it. But I just wanted to confess something. It was not easy for me to put my personal life out there, but I really hope that my stories would inspire a lot of other people in Nepal and Tibet and all the youth that are facing similar challenges. But most importantly, I'm really very much thankful to my parents who fought for me to bring me to the city for medical help. And of course, without them, I wouldn't be here today. So we'll just roll on with the question, and then I'll answer all the specific questions if you have.
Pamela, I've seen the documentary The Only Sun, which is really interesting and eye-opening to a lot of people who really do not know about the village in Karang in Dolpa. So when was that documentary made and who filmed it?
I was back then just was around 17 or 18. The documentary was filmed around 2012, but got released in 2013 by a director called Simonka De Jong. So this film is being this Dolpa's ancient culture alive as the place becomes very isolated, but it's also really I've been centered on as a character where my parents expected that I would get married and get a local girl, marry, and take over the land and so forth. Back then, I just finished my secondary school, and so it's a huge it's about a generational gap and cultural clashes that between me and my parents. So that's it actually.
Pamela, in the documentary, if you go to your village, Karang in Dolpa, it takes more than 10 days. So what is the current situation there? And while watching the documentary, I felt there was a strong clash of tradition and modernization in the sense that your parents are give more importance to preserving and continuing the traditional way of life than pursuing modern education or living in a city. And Pamela, what's your take on this? Have your parents' thought process changed since then, and how are they doing at present?
This film was filmed quite a long time ago. Of course, obviously there are a lot of things changed, and also the mentality of my parents and how my sisters are currently living around in Nepal and around in Europe and America, where my sisters are based. But particularly in Dolpa, where I was born in the west north in Nepal, of course, due to the influence of technology and the youth being empowered nowadays with all the available resources that we have. Dolpa is obviously people. It's not like same back then, but there are still the parents, the people who still live there. They still have the mindset of where they want their kids, when they reach a certain age, that they want them to be married and take over the responsibility. But it also has to do with the fact that in those places where I was born, the more hands you have in the house, the more you can work in the land. That's the whole idea behind where they keep giving birth to children so that they can, because everything you still have to do manually, with the kinetic energy. So everything, you are so dependent on your family. And secondly, like in our culture, son is considered the sort of the prime responsibility of the family. So they want to have more son, and that thing still exists, I believe. But ever since I moved to Europe, and my sisters and parents currently living in the city, uh, of course, the mindset, their mentality has certainly changed, and I've been able to persuade them to other way of thinking pattern, and so they are now quite understanding, but still, obviously, they push me. There are again still the demands that they're still wanting from me, like for instance, to get married, and think about the land and house we have up there.
Mhm.
So that still exists.
Okay. Pamela, I understand that you being the only son in the family and the amount of pressure that you are having. So also in the documentary, your maturity, your drive to study and pursue a career of passion is very inspiring. And you also encourage your sisters to study and assure your parents that you will find out a way out for them with their household works. So now that you are a successful professional based in the Netherlands, what are your parents thought? They must be very proud of you, are not they?
Yeah. First, let me give you a bit of update about my two sisters. All my siblings. So I have two sisters who are being adopted, one by Dutch family and one in America. Both of them are artists, and one sister in America wrote a book about the Yak girl, and then I have two younger sisters. They are now currently, one is studying in a secondary school, and one is now studying college. And I have one sister who always left behind up in the village, who got married and got settled there with their children, and we have two of our nieces staying with us in Kathmandu. Um, so I lost the question. I was updating you about my sisters, then I lost the question. If my parents are proud of me, yes, certainly. First I had a very tough years in the past, back back in 2012 till 15. I had a pretty rough time, having this dilemma of me pursuing my own career. I had a lot on my plate, what I wanted to achieve. At the same time, my parents want me to get married and so forth, all the thing that's based on the movie. But years after years, trying to convince them, there's another world, how it works, where you have to first set your own priorities, and before thinking over marriage and all the other responsibility. But now they're sort of they understand in certain contexts, but still, my parents are still very stubborn. They still argue about things that they don't agree with, but way lot lesser. But the most important thing about, in general, parents always remains parents, and they do it for your good. That they hope that you will be taken care of, that you have a good health, that you will have a prosperous life, and that's all what my parents are trying to do, trying to give me a proper life, protected life. And it's just that that love is still I really appreciate, and so I'm really thankful to my parents despite all the misunderstanding that we have in between. Yeah, so they are proud of me, absolutely.
Okay. Pema, does parents in your Karang village encourage education for their children? Do you see a change in their perspective of parents there?
Yes, absolutely. And this also goes to all the credits to mostly the youth, Dolpa youth people. They are now so active. They have so many channels like Facebook, and they have their own community of where they are first they, during the summer they study up there, and winter they come down with the city in Kathmandu to study, and then they have formed their own community of developing where they were born back up there. Similarly, does we also do, but in a very indirect way of spreading the deeds and words of the challenges that are up there in the mountain. For instance, my sister, she works with a Canadian organization called Altitude Project, where she's really directly involved in fundraising and spreading the words and collecting funds for, especially for medical and education sector. So there are changes are evolving, and I've been 2 years ago. I've been back in the village, uh, so I saw a lot of improvements. And their school people are going in. Parents are encouraging their kids to go to school. Now the world has become a lot smaller, and so I do see the difference. So, and I don't call anymore my place as a very isolated back then how I portrayed in the documentary, because now that I'm become a lot older, I feel like I'm coming back to my roots. So I go to Nepal every year. I see my parents every year, and once when I have the chance of a long holiday, I even go to Dolpa. That's where my heart, because I love traveling, and photography is something what I do outside, and that allows me to really see the beauty of where I came from. Back then I feel now stupid that I used to say in the movie I've said stuff. How can I survive here? How can I live in this isolated group? But I confess and I admit that I was wrong, and I I'm really connected to my roots now, and I'm planning to go back whenever I get the chance. So yes.
Yes, Pamela. I think when the documentary was shot, you were just near guy of 17 years old.
Yeah, 18, 17, 18. Yeah, hardly around that time. Yes.
Pamela, if you ever get a chance to redo or undo something from the past, what would it be?
Redo, undo something. Um, the things there are certain things which I could, in the documentary specifically, something I shouldn't have said about my village, of my birthplace, my mother birthplace, where I was very negative about it, because I was back then young, because the thing is that I grew up in a children's home at the age of around 7 or 8. I came to the city because of medical reasons. And then I grew up in the children's home for the past until I was 18. So I never had the influence of growing up in that village. And once after my high school, I went up there and I saw this complete isolation where there's nothing. And I'm so used to having things around me, that fortune. And when didn't see that around me, uh, I, yeah, I was dumb to say a lot of things that I shouldn't have said in terms of portraying love to my birth village. Um, but in terms of redoing, there's specific. Sometimes I do regret that I didn't spend much time with my parents. That that was also not in my hands because I grew up in children's home. Then I came to Europe, and I only saw my parents very rarely. There's a saying by a very Dutch famous diary writer Anna Frank. She said, dead people receive more flowers than the living ones because regret is stronger than the gratitude. So you should I would suggest, before you regret something with your loved ones, whenever you have the chance to give time, please do it, because this is something, it keeps alarming back and forth, back and forth. Now I call my parents a lot, so I'm so glad that we can do this. Back then, when they were in the village, I could not do it because I only hear them via through other people. Hey, your parents are doing fine, and no access to telephone and everything. So okay, I think I rolled around the questions what you asked, but I think you got my point.
Yes, I understand, Pema. Back then, you were like just 17 and going through adolescent spirit. So,
Mhm.
like back then, what motivated you to go against your parents' will for you and your sisters? Do you still feel guilty in introspection to what do you think you could have done differently back then? Like, how are your two little sisters now? Like, if I'm not wrong, I saw your sister Toma was about to complete class 10 that year. And
Mhm.
have they all completed their education now?
Yeah. Um, my yeah. There were so many questions. Okay, so first about my sister. My sister said, like I said earlier, they both have one sister, Dolma, who was also a sort of a second victim of getting pressured in the documentary. She has completed. She's doing her first year of her bachelor study. Uh, Also in the field of development projects and studies. And I have this younger sister. She's about to finish her high school, and one sister lives with my parents, and one sister lives still in the children's home. Um, so what was the question? The first question before about update about my sister. Sorry, it was too
Sorry,
fast.
my questions are also too long. Like my
Hmm.
question was, what motivated you to go against your parents' will for you and your sister, and did you feel guilty? And if
Um,
in introspection, what do you think you could have
yeah.
done differently?
Mm. Um, because the thing is, I'm a very sort of when it comes to my own things that I want, I'm very stubborn to fight for it, and to that will and drive to grab it. So I knew at the age of when I finished my high school, I really wanted to study further and really want to pursue my education in Europe. And that fortune I had it. That fortunate I had it because one sister lives in the Netherlands. So through her, I was able to pull off that opportunity, and I'm very grateful actually to my sister Sumchok and her adopted mother, who helped me initially in the first year of my study, and where I stayed with them for a year, and then I lived on my own. But I'm very grateful for both of them. Um, so in terms of going against my will with my parents, I must say I told about to my parents about me going to Europe in a quite late stage, not earlier, because I knew that those consequences would be very tough if I would tell them I'm leaving to Europe. I told them very at the late stage because I fought for my dream against what they expected me to be. So, so I'm sorry, parents. I did that in the last stage without telling them upfront. Um, and similar with my sisters, the woman, it's unlike in Europe, where men and women are treated very equally. They have the same rights. They speak the same word and same language of and actions. But unlike in Nepal, it's still in some areas it's not that prevalent. So because I wanted my sisters also to be independent, that they don't have to depend on their husband, where their husband would do everything, and they would be ending up in the kitchen. That's something what I also didn't want from them. They want where they can depend on themselves, where they can make their own earning, and then and this is exactly what I fought also for my sisters for the education. So I'm so glad that both of my sisters are still studying and not married or having with the children. So yeah. So education is really important. Yeah.
Pamela, I believe there are many young people who also face the same challenges or problems as you in convincing their parents to pursue a passion. So, what advice do you have for them?
Uh, to, um Absolutely. You know, in our culture, our parents, truth to be told, that our parents are very good at emotionally blackmailing. You know, if you don't do certain things, they will tell you they will cry, or they would do their own actions, which will make you feel guilty or sadden you, or emotionally haunt you. But I would really advise you, the most important thing, regardless, not just about marriage or the pressure, the social pressure that you get, most important thing is having the ability to maintain emotional stability. Being emotionally strong is really key, regardless of whatever the pressure you are getting over your head or the responsibility. Emotionally, there's you can filter things when someone pressures you, socially pressures you. You can listen to one ear and filter the things that is relevant for you, and unfilter the things throughout the year, which is not important. So this is something what I would really suggest to do, and prioritize and fight for education against. I know I sound like very filmy kind of thing, but education is really the way for you to be wiser, to make your own, it will lead your own way eventually. And so so and also another thing is that, you know don't be too pressured about when someone pressures you, because we are not a pressure cooker. So, uh, leave the pressure aside. And if you are being, like, let's say, like similar case that I encountered a lot when I was at home back with my parents, when they pressured me, you know mom, parents, dad, I understand your concern, but we have been now arguing for a few hours. I need a moment. Is it okay if I go out for a while, and then you take a walk, take a hike, and, in the nature, just walk along and listen to music, and, do things what you like, just distract yourself from that pressure world. And and also, the most important thing, I think I already told so many most important things, but the thing is that, it's very important saying, Les Brown, don't let someone's opinion be your reality. That their opinion doesn't have to be your reality. So you only know yourself within you, that what's best for you. So you can always take advice from someone, but doesn't mean that advice is the key for you to uh, do it. And if you're still studying, and but you are still in a similar position like I was, I would just keep doing your work, doing your thing. And, like, if you're studying, if you're working, and keep hustling and keep moving. And that's, instead of holding that pressure on your shoulder, for long. And as a Buddhist, always be kind, passionate, loving, and to your parents, regardless of anything, any pressure you get. Yeah, I think that's about it, right?
So, like, when and how did you move to the Netherlands, and what courses did you take there?
Mm. Netherlands. So, like I said earlier, I was very fortunate because my sister was already living here. So the process was pretty easy, because I needed someone to, who could sort of stand in as a guarantee, or like a sponsor. If you a lot of young people who are willing to go abroad, they invest, they put a lot of money to the agent, invest. I didn't have to do nothing. I didn't have to be involved in the agent process. So my sister's Dutch parents stood as a sponsor, and then I got immediately accepted for a sort of a partial scholarship because of my results, the marks that I had. And yeah, and I didn't have to worry about the place because I stayed for a year with them. But the challenges I would, if I may, about the challenges that you would come across in Europe, saying for people who are planning or dreaming about going to Europe, or thinking that Europe is the being abroad is the best, but I will tell you it's not. I mean, it's not the best. It is. It will lead you to your future. Uh, your goals, but it is, the challenges are also equally tough as where you are currently based. Wherever you go, you have to struggle, and but maybe I will come that again later when someone has a specific relevant question about how it's in Europe.
And Pamela, what challenges did you face staying connected to your roots when you first moved to Netherlands, and how did you overcome them?
Challenges, when I first came to Netherlands, it was a huge culture shock. I really felt like a fish coming out of the city. You see, you're like you're up there, and everything is so shockingly overwhelming. Uh, so the challenges were, of course, the language barrier, because the country where I live, they speak Dutch. Uh, the way you eat, the etiquette, and also we are being so spoiled in our country. At the age of 13, 14, we're still dependent on someone. But here at the very young age, kids at the 14, 15, they have a part-time job, that they make their own money, and they don't parents they live with their rich parents, but they still work. This is something what really taught me to be as a sort of a role of being independent. I didn't I only started working at the age of 21, and as a part-time job when I was studying. Uh, was like all this regular, very typical study of all non-residents. They study in the morning, work in the evening. I did everything from pizza delivery to news, throwing the newspaper, washing, dishwashing. And that the key message is, don't judge job on the job. Just do it. Just do it, because from each job you learn something, and that's the take you have to consider while working in any job. Um, the other challenges, yeah, the food. Yeah, of course, I like spicy food, and they don't have the food. I didn't like it. I didn't eat for a very long time. I was very unhealthy in the beginning, because of the food. Um, uh, Other challenges, yeah, specifically with my studies. That's, I must say, because after completing my +2 in Nepal, I came here and bachelor. And that's where I was not really used to using computers, typing and all this Microsoft Office. These are totally not so familiar to me. I had to really catch up with my classmates, where they were already up there, and so I worked double shift, extra shift, investing on myself to learn, working in the night. So normally in the first and second year, kids go, students, they go out, have fun, and then parties and sports. I secluded myself in a box, kind of a box thing, where I invest my time to really study, and I had a race to catch, to get along with my classmates. Um, and also the work, the studying ethics. The Europeans are pretty direct. They say stuff, they say things to the teacher, whatever comes in their mind, and we are very, very, come from a very hierarchical society, where the boss or teacher says whatever says it's right, and you don't have the words to put up yet. But these are things I was very shy, and I always didn't talk in the class. But gradually, after third, fourth year, I got in the stable tempo, where I was also able to speak my words, speak aloud. Yeah,
Yeah, I understand.
there are so many challenges. I can't describe it
Yes, I
in this
understand the
short
kids in
time.
the
Yeah.
West could be more like opinionated. They have full of opinion and they ask their teachers directly. And did you face any language barriers? Like for you, you were speaking earlier when you were in Nepal. You were speaking Tibetan, Nepali. Then when you moved to Netherlands, did you struggle with any language barrier? Like you have to learn a completely new language like a Dutch.
Yeah, let me tell you a funny story about the language part, which is very weird within our family. So we speak. So I speak with my sister in America English, and then I have my sister here in Holland. We do speak English and Dutch. We switch around, and then I have my two sister in Kathmandu. We speak Nepali because that's how we were used to when we were in the children's home. And I have my sister back in the village. We speak Dolpa dialect. It's similar to Tibetan. So I'm pretty pretty occupied with the
Yeah.
language thing, but learning Dutch was one of the difficult challenges that I had because the alphabets that they use, like you have to say everything, you have to use your throat a lot. So it was very tough, but the important thing is I had a uh, I had a lot of Dutch circle of friends because I lived, like I told you, I lived in the east of Holland where there were less Tibetan or Nepali people. So so I had to learn Dutch because my friends, the circle that I hung out with or whom I worked with were only Dutch. So they can't always, when you're drinking together or when you're sitting in a circle together, they are not going to talk with me always English. So I thought, no, I really have to learn. And also important thing, if someone goes to abroad, it's respectful if you speak their language, because if you're going to stay there, better to speak their language, learn it, because it's only good for you. So so luckily now I work in a Dutch company, so I have to speak Dutch. I call all my colleagues are Dutch. Luckily, I communicate, most of the emails and everything are in English still, but still the Dutch is my primary language here in the Netherlands. Yeah, so it was tough journey with the language thing.
Yeah, I think the culture shock you have at the beginning in Netherlands, I'm sure a lot of young Tibetans moving to the West or elsewhere else in the world would resonate with your experience. So, Pamela, why did you choose to pursue a career in tourism and hospitality?
Yeah, a very good question, because I knew back then when I was 18, I knew I loved. I'm really fanatic about traveling. Uh, when I used to stay in the hostel in Rockport Children's Home, whenever I got the moment to go out, I felt like like a wanderlust going out and strolling around. This was part of my thing, and I got in love with photography when I first held when I was 19, from our the founder Leah Wheeler. We call her mommy. So when I held her camera, so every time during when there were parties in the children's home, I used to be sort of an in-house photographer. Yeah, and that's how I fell in love with the photography, and the travel thing uh, I fell in love even more when I came in Europe, because in Europe it's pretty easy. Once you're in Europe, it's pretty easy to travel around other neighboring countries, and so I love traveling. So when I came to Europe, choosing the right study was very tough for me. But I'm pretty social, open-minded, photography, traveling. So I thought tourism, and also I come from a very we all come from. I mean, I come from a very hospitable country, where hospitality is so important, and that just exists within our blood. So so I thought, when I saw the tourism, but I did in business administration in tourism, where I learned the essentials of business, and yeah, that's why okay, that's the study I want, and it will also allow me to give the opportunity to travel around, and after my bachelor, I did a specialization in destination management and policy development, really focusing on the policy of a destination. So currently, I'm representing Amsterdam and the metropolitan area around it, the city, uh, to promoting. It's almost like a tourism board, but really, yeah, that's where. And so I ended up working at with the kind of study I studied for. So I'm pretty much content of what I'm doing now and what I studied. So
So, Prema, at present you are working at Destination Marketing Organization. So, what are your roles and responsibility as community marketer?
Mm. Like I just briefly said, so I work in, so you could think of it as in a very simple term, like a tourism board. So Amsterdam has an issue of over tourism. So there are a lot of tourists because Amsterdam is a very famous tourism destination. But for as a local, for Amsterdam, the city itself, it's not a problem, but it does create sort of takes the social spaces of local people, because so local people get offended by the tourists strolling around and getting crowded. So what I do as I'm a community marketer, so my job is to, through using all the online channels that we have, so community online community. So I manage all the social platforms where we make sure that we disperse the tourists or outside the neighborhood and around this metropolitan area, so that tourists doesn't stick in only in the center, that they are aware that there is more than just the city center, the very generic image that they have about the city. That Amsterdam is pretty famous for these typical houses, canals, the freedom of, you can do whatever you want, you can be you, whoever you want to be. Uh, there are so open to very tolerant city. Let's put it that way. So my job as a community marketer is to organize on campaigns, online campaigns, where you see in the in the station, in the billboards and the banners in this around the city. So about the activities and about the events, um, about the exhibitions that they can see outside the city center, so that they will uh, go out of the city center and explore beyond Amsterdam. Anyway, yeah, let's not talk too much about my work, but that's in short. Yeah, I manage the all online community. Yes.
Pamela, you're really inspiring as a person, and I think a lot of people can emulate your maturity, resilience, and perseverance. So, right now, we have one question from one of our Facebook viewer, and the viewer is questioning: Pamela, do you have any plan of marrying if you have not yet already? Uh, since they are like very curious after watching your documentary, The Honest Son, and I think
Mm-hmm.
people, yeah, who have watched this documentary are very curious to know about the update, because the documentary was shot, I think, many years ago, so they wanted to know about your present status.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm a very family guy. I love to have family eventually, but this is something I expect to happen spontaneously and not as planned. So far it hasn't happened yet, because I've been so much focused on myself with everything. So I'm not married, and I also not planning currently. So because so I'm now 29 years old, implying that it's pretty normal here in the country, Europe, where I'm staying. It's very normal that you don't. It's not like the pressure that I get at home. Oh, now you're old and you're behind. With all your friends, everyone is getting kids, and yeah, I don't feel that pressure. What you do, so like I said, very early thing. If you also get pressured by your family to get married, I would just let it filter through one ear and unfilter, and just filter only the things that is positive thing, and the negative just throw it away, just ignore it, and because that's only gonna haunt you even more. So no, yeah, I'm happy how I am now, and I'm doing things what I like. I have this freedom to explore myself. Every day is a learning process, so I'm learning every day, and it's never too late to learn or do things what you like. And you know, uh, you know, if you refer your age as a sort of being delayed of doing things what you like, it's just nonsense, because you can learn at any age my colleagues, you know, they are at 50s and they're studying still they wanted to study bachelor study, which they couldn't back then. They're going to school and they're coming back. They're working during the day, evening they study. So I'm not trying to say that the atmosphere that we have in Europe is the best. It's not just saying that, but the mentality of how they are open to, regardless of whatever the age, gender, however they look alike, or whatever, they do what they like, and that's what I want to suggest people. Just you just do what you're good at, and just invest on that, and don't try to compare with other people. The more you compare, the more, yeah, more, you know, more delusional and more stressed you become. Just, yeah, just do your thing. Yeah, I think I ended up lecturing about life, but it's not what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, yeah, I'm fine.
Yes, Pamela, I saw in the documentary that your Amala, your mother, was constantly, pressuring you, being the only son in the family, that you must get married. All our neighbor, like kids of your age,
Mhm.
are already getting married, and she was like constantly comparing you with, other women
Mhm.
staying in that place.
Yeah. Um, so I just wanted to say something about my mother specifically. You know, in the documentary, she's been portrayed or depicted more as if she's a villain of the movie. You know, she's been, but it's not true. But it's not. That's not how we should, if you're, you should not see that way. You know, she lived in her own bubble of life where, for her, those things are what she experienced are right for her, and that's how the custom it should be. But I've seen the bigger world, and of course, my how I think is absolutely different from her, but doesn't she shouldn't be seen as if she, a very uh, very tough lady, very annoying lady, but not. She, I'm I love my parents to death, and we talk every day. Uh, when my mom, I have a technique. Before, for instance, if my mother starts talking about the things that I don't agree with, I just listen. I just say yes, yes, yes. I take the moment to just listen, and then again start with a positive conversation. Overlap with a good conversation. Talk about her. Talk about, you know this is how we deal with her, and we are pretty good so far. And I just wanted to say to all the viewers, what you see in the movie about my mom, it's just that she lived in her own bubble, and I lived in my own bubble, and that's the only difference that we have. And we both are not we don't have no one is bad in this process. What you see is, I think you can also relate that to your own parents, I guess. you
Yeah.
know so yeah.
Yeah, she's right in her own way, and you are right in your own way. And compared to the like
Exactly.
education and the modern education that you have received, like while your mother is from a very small, remote village, where there is like a lack
Yeah.
of education, lack to
Yeah.
Medicare systems and all. So I
Yeah. My mother is still so cute. She counts with, when she has to count stuff, she counts with the, tenga, with the tenga, right? Tenga, you call it, right?
rosary, rosary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She counts with like one, two. It's so cute to see her how she does that. So there's little things that really makes me really emotional. Uh, my mom never got education, and that's and you will see the whole overlapping part of it when you don't receive it. So so I would suggest all the parents out there, don't please, you know let your kids follow their dreams, because if you let them do things what you think is the right, it will turn out the opposite thing. The same thing, a movie called Zamin Par, that movie is a really good example of how the kids have been portrayed. Yeah, and for the youth people, younger people, I would really suggest follow your dream, really, and listen to your heart, and that's the key message. Yeah, and do things what you like. These are very simple thing, but we don't acknowledge it, and we don't still do it. We just we hear it and several times, but we don't really put it into action. But try to put that into action, but doing things what you like, and not depending on doing things what your friends like or your roommates like, things what you like, and then scale that up, and you will find happiness in it. And with your parents thing, with the pressure, just be patient and listen to them. Take the moment. Don't immediately jump or hover over them, and try to be. Parents are parents. Without them, you wouldn't be there. And so love them, like, and spend as much as time you have when you have the chance. Really, yeah.
Yes, at the end of day, like, the parents are always your like parents. They always, want you to give their unconditional love, support, help all the time. So yeah,
Hmm.
I should not be like too quick to judge them based on the documentary. So Pamela,
Yeah.
my last question before concluding the today's session, do you have any piece of advice you have for others based on your personal and professional journey?
I think I pretty much said everything what I wanted to say about journeys that I made. Uh, on the whole, the summary, don't let someone's opinion become your reality. I didn't say that. It's a very famous person, Les Brown, said it, but I found that very strong and very intriguing quote. Yeah, just I think listening to your heart, because you can really, if you learn to trust and love yourself. I think this is a very typical and a cliche kind of a line thing, but it is true, and I would just suggest you to do that. Yes.
Sorry, Pamela, we have one more question from one of the viewers.
Hmm.
Uh, so, like in the documentary, there is a communication barrier between your sister from the Netherlands and your parents and siblings who are based in Nepal. So you had to translate from them literally, most of the time. So do you think because of the sheer nature of our moment in general and family separation as a consequence of it in a lot of situations, do you still think many people still face the similar identity problems like you?
Yes. I think it really depends on per family how their situations were. Like in our case, I mean, because we all had our medical reasons why we had to get out of the city, get to the city. Because I had a measles. My sister, the older sister in America, had a scoliosis, and the another sister fell off in the fire. With as a lady, you don't want to be you don't want to be walk bald the whole life. So thanks to the people who knows what love compassion is. So all this thanks to the European family of my sister, an American family of my another sister, that they were medically being helped. And now look at when you help uh, when you help your friend, and and when that friend helps another friend, and that will circle if that and that will circle around, and then so the effect of help is so essential that you don't know, even if it's a small help, it can mean a lot to someone else's life. And that result is pretty much very vivid and clear in my family, where my sisters were helped with the medical, and now look at them today. They are artists and selling the artworks and stuff. And I think I've also sort of in my TED talk, I gave a TED talk
That's
about about a message about the importance of help, how it changed my life, because I grew up in a children's home where Rokpa in Tibetan, which means help, and the motto was helping where help is needed. And look, this has drastically changed my life, and I'm applying the similar principles just around my circle, my friends, my colleagues, my neighbor, um, every people that I come across. We are Tibetans. I'm not technically Tibetan. I'm still in Nepal, but I consider Buddhist. I like the philosophy of the whole Tibetan uh, culture. So we are born to help, be kind to others, and just instead of just saying it, put that into action, you will immediately see the result. So yeah.
Yeah, I listened to one of your TED talks you have given at Saxon University. At the concluding remarks, you were saying, like if you help someone and make changes or bring a positive change in someone's life, the world would be a better place to live in, kind of thing. So I think
Yeah.
that's a very strong message.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's because I saw it myself. I experienced it myself, So that's why I truly believe in what I said, So I was just not trying to say to impress someone, but I'm also really saying it because I did it and I experienced it. Yeah.
Thank you, Pamela, very much for your time and accepting to speak with us today. I'm sure a lot of Tibetan youth are motivated and inspired by your incredible, resilient personal story. So thank you very much once again. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say something very short.
Sure, sure.
미망 창물랑에 그게 정말 야구 말하디 김sen 창물랑 공타. I don't know if someone understood. I don't even understand what I just said, the first few sentences. But I just want to say sorry for the, I'm not really proud that I can't speak Tibetan that much, but I had my reasons where I didn't have the chance. But now, thanks to sometimes I do learn in YouTube how to speak Tibetan, and I'm trying to find a Tibetan friend or around who can really spare the time to teach me. So, I just wanted to say, confess that I'm not proud that I did this session in English. Please learn your language, and this is something I would wanted to redo with the question that you asked me. Please don't forget your language, and that's the thing. See how problematic it has now. Sometimes if I want to have a very extended conversation with my parents, I really need to ask my sister, Dolpa, can you, I will say this in Nepali, can you translate that to parents? How weird that is to do with your own parents, So please learn your language. And I'm also now learning it in the weekends. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Really much appreciated.
Thank you, Pema.
All right.